was the man. You're the man. Strong, healthy, black man. Huh? Dun, 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 dun. What you gonna eat?
So this woman made this post, and the caption is how I feel knowing that I can have children with a white man and still produce black men, right? Now, this is my thing. I scrolled past this in my feed. I didn't come across her page or whatever, I wasn't looking at her page and then I looked through her videos and saw this. No, I scrolled past this in my feed. So the first thing that I saw about her was this video. And just looking at this video, I could immediately tell that 2 of her sons were black and 2 were biracial. It was very obvious that the older 2 sons were black and the younger 2 were biracial, right? So clearly just making some assumptions, but I don't think I'm reaching here. Clearly she was in a previous relationship with a black man and she had 2 black sons, right? Now she's in a relationship with a white man and she has 2 biracial sons, right? So then I went and I clicked on her page because I'm like, okay, let me investigate a little further. Let me give it a little deeper of a look. And on her page, she says that she's in an interracial blended family. Now, for those of y'all who don't know, a blended family is basically when 2 people get together and one or both of them has children from a previous relationship, right? So, if you got step siblings or something, then you're in a blended family, okay? So it's very obvious that this is the case. Before I even looked at her page, it was very clear that 2 of her sons were from a previous relationship because 2 of them kids did not come from a white man, obviously, and 2 obviously did, right? So I have to question when I see black people who have biracial kids and they post something like this because honestly, I don't get it. What is the point? Now, look, I say this in every video, disclaimer, I just recently moved. There's a lot of junk in the background, and the junk is rotating because I am unpacking and moving things around, but whatever, okay? Y'all gonna see some clutter in the background because of that. But, y'all, I have to hold black people accountable for the role that they play in this. And I say they because I'm not including myself in this nonsense, okay? I have to hold black people accountable because I get on YouTube all the time and I talk about all these racial issues and the role that white people and biracials play in the erasure of blackness and how, biracialness is the acceptable form of blackness and white people won't allow biracials to be white, but they'll force them into the black community and biracials will, allow that and encourage that, right? I talk about how white people and biracials have a role in all of this. So it's only fair that I talk about black people's role in this as well. When I see a black person make a post like this, I have to call it out. I have to call it out because it's messed up. It's messed up, okay? I have to ask you a serious question. How unfair is this to your biracial children? Can you imagine how confusing it must be to be these 2 little biracial boys growing up in this household, right? And to clearly see that your daddy is white, and to clearly see that your brother's daddy is black, right? And clearly see that y'all don't look the same, right? So clearly something is different, but your mama's just telling you that you're black, right? And again, can you imagine how confusing that must be? I feel like that is so that is so unfair. That is such a big injustice to your biracial children. And I have to think about this honestly because you guys know that I don't date interracially, absolutely not. So I never have any biracial kids, but I do date interethnically, right? And what if one day I have a child who is half whatever and half black American? Why would I sit there and tell my child that they are only black American? That's not fair at all to who they actually are. It's not. You know what I don't think is fair? It's how black people rightfully complain when white people adopt black kids and don't teach them their culture, right? Black people will be like, oh, you adopted a black kid. You should have them in the black community and stuff so they know who they are. Don't just take them out to honky tonk town and raise them as a white person. That must be so confusing and stuff, right? Black people rightfully complain about this, but then they will go and have biracial kids and do the exact same fucking thing. Just lie to them about who they are, not tell them who they actually are, etc., etc., etc. How does that make sense at all? That is so hypocritical. Honestly, I really do feel like a lot of you fucking suck as parents. And I know y'all hate to hear that, especially from somebody who doesn't have kids. And y'all be like, oh, you can't tell me nothing about my kids, about raising my kids. And so, yes, I can, because you're a fucking idiot. You're not good at this at all. Maybe you should read a fucking book or listen to some fucking body, because, bitch, you clearly not doing a very good job. But let me not get too deep into that, right? As a parent, you are going to have some hard conversations with your children, okay? Whether you're a black person raising black kids, a white person raising white kids, a black or white person raising biracial kids, whatever, you're going to have some hard conversations with your kids. And I'm not even just talking about racial conversations, just conversations, period, okay? But let's stay on the task of race and biracial kids, right? Some of the conversations that you have to have with your biracial child may be the same or similar as conversations you would have with your black child, right? Like, you're going to have to explain to them, you know, in this white supremacist society, you're not white, clearly, so you're going to go through ABC and XYZ, right? But, all of those conversations that you will have with the black child won't necessarily apply to a biracial child, and vice versa. If you have a biracial child, then you should be prepared to have certain conversations with them. Like, you're biracial, you're not white or black, so you're never really going to fit in with white people or black people. That's the reality of the fact. Like, if a biracial person get around me talking about mom's string bean casserole, I'm going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Same way, if a biracial person gets around a white person talking about dad's fried chicken and cornbread, the white person's gonna be like, Ollie G. Willikers, my home skiddly. Like, I've never heard of such a doing, right? Like, it's the reality. It's the reality of the fact, okay? You're gonna have a lot of tough conversations with your kid. And this is the thing. You have to prepare your kids to navigate this society with what they are given, okay? A biracial child and a black child are not given the same resources. So if you attempt to equip a biracial child with the resources that you would equip a black child with, they are going to be so unprepared to actually go into this society and deal with what they have to deal with. Now, this is my thing. Now, I'm not biracial. I don't have biracial kids, right? But I'm just going to come up with this scenario just for us to discuss, okay? I've seen a lot of biracials talk about the racism that they experience from their white halves of the family, right? So they'll talk about how their white grandparents or their white cousins or white parent called them the N-word or some shit, right? And this is the reality of the fact. That's a conversation that you're not going to have to prep your black kids for, because black kids got black cousins. If they call us the N-word, that's because it's whatever. What's up, my nigga? What you doing, right? It's not the way that a white cousin would call a biracial cousin the N-word, right? That's a conversation you're going to have with your biracial child that you're not going to have with your black child, right? So if you sit here and you acting like your biracial child black, then it's like, huh? Now, this is the thing, y'all, because I sat here and I talked about how she's doing a disservice to her biracial children, but she's also doing a disservice to her black children, because this is the reality. We live in a white supremacist world. Do you really think that a full black person and a person who is half black and half white are at the same rung of the ladder of white supremacy? Do you really think that? Do you really think, oh, white people are up here and black people and biracials are down here? Seriously? You really think that somebody who is half white is at the same rung of the ladder as somebody who is full black? That's not like that's not intelligent. I'm sorry. That's okay. We all know that the closer you are to whiteness, the better you fare in this society, okay? So somebody who is half white is much closer to whiteness than somebody who is full black. That being said, as compared to black folks, biracials got it kind of good. Now, don't get me wrong, because folks finna come to the comments hooting and hollering and crying. I'm not saying that biracials don't go through anything. Clearly, we live in a white supremacist world, so if you half black, then, yeah, you're still going to go through some shit, absolutely, right? But for us to pretend that you got it the exact same as black folks, come on now. It's funny because I'm going to give y'all an example. If y'all watch that, I forget, I think it was a movie. I don't think it was a short series. I don't know, right? But it was on Netflix and it was called The Chevalier. They called him the Black Mozart, but he was actually the biracial Mozart, okay? And watching this, it was very clear that, clearly he was not fully accepted into white society. But when you looked at what the actual black people were going through, the Chevalier was accepted into white society way more than any of them. First of all, he got this fancy title, the Chevalier, right? None of the black people were eligible for that title, right? And then he was told straight up that he couldn't marry a white woman, but if he married a black woman, he would lose that fancy title, right? He would be relegated to the coons, basically, okay? And watching this documentary is such a good example of how A biracial person, of course, they're not fully accepted into white society, but they got it way fucking better than black people. Like, the black people in that show was doing rough, baby. But he was, ooh, the Chevalier playing the violin. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had it real good compared to the black folks. Now, that's not to say he didn't have any troubles. It's not to say he didn't experience any racism or anything like that, because he did, right? But the black people had it way worse. And that's a good depiction of what happens in real life. I'm not sitting here saying that biracial people don't go through anything, because that would be a lie. But yes, black people go through way fucking more. So you sitting here telling your biracial sons that they're black, it's a disservice to your actual black sons, because when I tell you they're going to go through so much fucking more than a biracial boy, like, seriously. The reality is this. Anybody who is not white is going to go through some shit in a white supremacist system, absolutely. But we can't sit here and pretend that somebody who is half white and half black goes through the same shit or at the same capacity as somebody who is full black. We can't sit here and pretend that. And I'm calling this out because, again, I feel like a lot of you all take a very fucking lazy approach to parenting. You have 2 black sons and 2 biracial sons, right? The most appropriate approach would be to, first of all, actually explain to these children who they are, their backgrounds, their cultural whatever, because they aren't the same, right? But then also explain to them how, yeah, they're going to be treated differently in society, and explain to your biracial sons how they can be good allies. Yeah, your black brothers are going to go through things that you're not going to go through, but you could use your white, proximity as something to help your brothers out or whatever, right? Explain this shit to y'all kids. I'm sorry, but y'all fucking suck at parenting, dead ass. Like, I swear to God, y'all put the lime in a coconut and that just be it. Y'all just push a child out and be like, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm sending you out into the world. You're not gonna fucking teach your kid nothing. You're not gonna explain to your child who the fuck they are or anything. Like, are you fucking dumb? I feel like if you have biracial kids, you should teach your kids how to like they fucking selves, because I be seeing so many biracials who, like, they joke about how they can't stand the fact that they half white. They be like, oh, golly gee willikers, I'm glad that my white parent got with my black parent so I could get a little melanin in my home skiddly. Meanwhile, they the color of some motherfucking paper mache. The fuck, right? Like, they will sit there and they will crack jokes. Oh, at least I have some seasoning on one side of my family. Like, my thing is this. If you are biracial, embrace who the fuck you are. Yeah, sure, half of your family live in honky-tonk land and y'all be doing the hold down, throw down at dinner and shit, but embrace that shit, bitch. That's who you are. That is who you are. Why would you sit there acting like you ashamed of that shit and it's something embarrassing and you gotta downplay it, when, again, that is who you are? But the reason that they feel like they have to do this is because y'all sit there and y'all lie to them and tell them that they black when they're not. So they feel like they have to downplay the white side of them to be accepted as more black or some shit, when really y'all should be sitting there telling them to embrace all of who they are. But again, y'all suck at being parents. Y'all fucking suck. I'm sorry, but take some birth control, because y'all don't need to be having kids.